Welcome to a brand new video and my first one on the new Create Mod version 6.0, not my first video, but my first tutorial where, as you can see behind me, I have been putting in the hours. And if you don't know already, I streamed this on Twitch, so you could always check that out, twitch.tv/KindleBubblegum. But in that stream, we made something very similar to this. I have since updated it a little bit to get all of the kinks and stuff out, but you might be wondering what this is. What we have in front of us and behind me now is a full machine system setup something of everything that can be made from a cobblestone generator, a wood farm, and a kelp farm. And that includes the entirety of the Andesite age of the Create mod. And this is only possible with the new update. As you can see, it is not a cheap system in the slightest. If you know how much these Frogports cost, they are pretty expensive. I mean, not insane, but having this many is quite a bit. But as you can see here, we have automated every single thing in the Andesite age of the Create mod, starting from Cobble, which we have 1,020 stacks of, all the way to drills, mixers, cogwheels, the new chain, whatever things these are, conveyors, everything. And we also have an iron farm in here. This video is going to be kind of an explanation on how this thing works. I'll walk you through how to set up the schematic, and of course I will include everything in the description so you can check it out. This will not be a block by block tutorial because I think that would take about 4 years, but I will have each separate schematic thing in the description so that you can place them in different places if you'd like. But then we'll also have this main one that you can power just right over here in this one spot, and it'll hook it up to everything that we have here. We're gonna go over first the cobblestone generator. This is a relatively new cobblestone generator in the Create Mod 6.0. We are using a little bit of an interesting system here with the new drilling into an inventory type of thing. So in the new Create Mod update, you can now drill items, let's say cobblestone, from a cobblestone generator, and it will go directly into the inventory below it without breaking the item, which saves a ton on lag and increases the speed quite a bit. Someone also found out, this wasn't me, but I forget who it was, someone also found out that using 2 drills speeds up the drilling time a considerable amount. So that's why we have 2 sets of drills here. I have lava in the center to kind of compact the space a little bit, and then we have the same thing over here, and then an additional one because, oh my gosh, iron uses so much cobblestone. This cobblestone generator is routed over to an iron farm that we have set up here that will only turn on if it needs iron, which is good, and then secondarily routes over here to an andesite farm that stores andesite in here that we can use for the rest of the andesite age of automation, which, I mean, we use a lot of andesite. The tree farm is kind of your basic one. It just goes into this item vault here, and we just have an overflow protection system built in here so that if we get more trees than we need, we'll just throw it out. And then the final one over here is a kelp farm. This is a 2-story tall design just because we weren't getting enough kelp before. I'll explain that over on the board way over there when we get to it, but we have a kelp farm here that just routes straight into the storage system. We have a smelting, washing, smoking, and haunting system in the back here, an auto crafting system here with a large enough storage for all the things that you may need to repackage on the way, and then a bunch of filtered saws because the amount of things that require specific crafting ingredients from one thing, let's just say an andesite alloy and a saw, there are so many things that you can create, so we need filters for each and every one of them, and of course we are making all 4 of those things. Over here we have a presser, a compactor, and a normal general saw here that's just for standard sawing of things like woods or logs into planks or stripped logs. We have a crushing system. We have a train crafting system, which crafts train tracks. Over here we have an andesite casing farm that will right-click all the casings onto it. You can actually improve this up to a normal full casings farm and just change this filter really easily and set that up as well if you have those items. Again, our iron ingot storage, and then over here we have our 3 mixers for all the things that we care about, whether it's small, large cogwheels, or andesite alloy. The belts route around in maybe not the best way, but a good enough way to get everything that we care about connected up. And over here is the brains of the whole operation. As you can see, we have already pre-routed and configured every single one of these. We have a set amount for each thing that I deemed was reasonable for my use cases. You can obviously change these if you need more andesite alloy, let's say, you can obviously add more of those. But this is the farm. As I mentioned, all the schematics are going to be in the description. We will have schematics for every single one of these, but I would highly recommend watching the video because a lot of these you need to configure before they actually work, which kind of sucks. But at the moment, that's just how this Create Mod version works. As we watch this farm run, let me go over the rates, how quick it is to complete everything that you need from the very beginning up until you have everything that you care about, and also some of the stress units and all those types of things. As for the rates, I have already been running this for about an hour and a half. This thing does take quite a while to configure everything and build up all of its items and stuff, but that is from the bare minimum. If you AFK this thing overnight, it should be ready by the time you wake up, and once you have all the items, the only real thing that's going to be happening is when you take out some items, it'll restock those items specifically. This factory does use 100,000 stress units, so this will absolutely require a steam engine, and honestly, in the schematic, I might just throw in a steam engine just so that there's no issues with it, but you will need to supply your own lava sources for both the andesite crafting and obviously a steam engine if you are making one. You can increase the size and the speed of the cobblestone generator if you desire. You can also shrink it if you want. There is no set size to all of these things. Some of them are required. You can obviously remove some mixers or things that you don't need if that is your prerogative. What a word, holy cow. I have been testing this obviously for quite a while, but I have been using a special tool. If we do a tick sprint, it'll speed up the game like crazy and lag it out. We should see that nothing breaks, but if it does, and this was happening during my testing, I think this is just kind of an unfortunate circumstance with this create mod version. If packages start queuing up around this thing and then they stop moving entirely, that is because there is a set amount of packages per kind of chain conveyor section that can be present on a line at a time. So you'll have to right click and break and remove all of them from the line for it to continue going. And you might have to do that a couple of times if you are like me, setting up everything at the start all at once. I should have fixed all those bugs though, and that's the reason why we have so many storage kind of collectors here, because of that issue. So I should have fixed that issue, but if you're running a different version or some things have changed and new updates, that could be an issue. I do also want to mention that this is not a perfect system. This is my, I guess, version 4 or whatever of me building this, but it's still not perfect and there are still a bunch of bugs, and I would love if you all in the comments can like improve on this design, build off of it, make some cooler stuff. There's a wandering trader going Mach 10. If you join my Discord, there is a cool build section where you can post all your upgrades and stuff to this, and I would love to see the cool stuff that you build from this. It would just be amazing. The last little thing before we get into how to use the schematic, if you like this video, if you like the farm, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I think only 20% of my viewers are actively subscribed, so please do subscribe if you see yourself coming back on a regular. But let's get into schematicizing this, and this tick warp is still not done, but we should see that quite a few of the things are finished crafting. As you can see, it feels like the rates are relatively close to 2 hours, except for, of course, gold, because yeah, this thing is gonna take a while. And after that quick tick warp, we have completed everything on the tree. Everything is fully maxed out except for kelp, but otherwise everything is fully maxed out. We have everything that we care about. Now let's move on to the schematic. So we have the schematic now. I am going to do this like all of you plebs in survival would actually do it, with a schematic cannon. So I have placed this thing down. We are doing it in the same orientation as our original one, but since the create mod is rotational, if you rotate this, it will probably mess stuff up and you'll have to fix that. If you don't already know how to do that, maybe don't start with this build, because what? But it shouldn't be that difficult. Anyway, let's get this in here. We need a bit of gunpowder, and I'm just gonna put a creative crate next to it. And if you don't know, if we grab a book and put it in here, we'll get a material checklist. And even though that says everything, I'm gonna guess it'll just let me print everything. So skip missing blocks, no. Protect block entities, yes. Replace solid with any, go for it. Yep, so that's gonna start placing stuff in. I am actually gonna cheat, and I am going to just speed this thing up for us, because I don't think you care if this goes fast or slow, because no matter what, I'm cutting it out of the video. So let's go to when this is all done. You may notice that I've included the floor in the schematic. If you don't like that and hate my beautiful floor pattern and design, you can always bring this into a creative world and just delete all of the granite parts of the floor. There are some things in the floor, so you can't just just remove the bottom part of the schematic, because as you can see, you'll remove some of the casings and encased chain drives and all that fun stuff. All right, this has been built in. I will remind you and maybe recommend to not build this in the same world that you're building, or that you have maybe already one of these, because all of these were already full because it was already connected to our working one over there. So just make sure that you're being smart and it's not already connected. So to get everything set up, you've already seen probably the most difficult one over here. We need to configure every single one of these recipes here, which is going to be a pain, but it then means infinite andesite age everything, and you only have to do it once. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not horrible, but it is the worst. What I will recommend is, if you want to move this thing, do it now, because otherwise you're doing it twice, and that's stupid. We also have to connect up all the chains and stuff, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let us first do the steam engine. You'll see that I have already added this thing in. It wasn't too hard to implement or anything. This is my just normal steam engine design with a couple of different colors and whatever, but you can modify this to your needs. You just need 100-something thousand stress units. So to get started, let's place in shafts all along here. These should connect up to all the steam engines that we like, and then we're gonna put lava in on top of all of these smooth stone blocks, because those are all over the lava cauldrons here. I would really recommend an infinite lava source for these, because if you're out of the random tick range, this steam engine will stop, preventing everything else from working. But for now, it is gonna work for us. We're gonna throw buckets into here. We just need to do that to kickstart the farm, and then we're gonna put water into these bottom stair blocks, and then into these, and this should start running and spinning around after a second. There we go. You'll know that it's worked. All of these need to be water sources, and you can see that all of these volts are 2x2 volts, which is not what we need or want. So we need to go around and break all of these and reconfigure them into the proper 3x3 volts. So what we're gonna do is, I'm going to try to make a 3x3 volt here without it connecting to anything else. There we go. And then we're gonna build this all the way along in this one little section. And then we're gonna do the same thing over here. It might just be easier for you, if you're having troubles setting this thing up properly, to just do a full and complete rehaul of all of these ones. Like if they're not making a 3x3 for you, it might just be easier to do a full haul of everything and just start from scratch. There we go. Once we have 4 3x3 volts that are all the way along, we're gonna throw in lava into every single one of these cauldrons on either side here. This is just for overflow protection, because some of these things like flint and stuff we don't actually have a use for, and we need to throw out whatever we have extra. Now let's get in the chains. We need quite a few chains. This doesn't just use one chain per thing. I'm in creative, so I can grab one chain, but you're gonna need way more than one chain, maybe a stack or 2. And then we're going to connect it up to all of these chain conveyors across the entirety of the farm. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in total. So make sure you get all 6, because if you don't, either you're not going to be able to power everything, or some things just aren't going to have frog boys to attach to. Oh, it's because I actually missed one of the chain connectors here. So there's actually 7 in total. So make sure you right click this up, because that will power all of the things over on this side. We're going to come over to the tree farm here, and we're going to put in lava into all of these cauldrons here. You're going to hook up lava to this mechanical pump here. I already have a creative fluid tank, so I can just not do anything, but you'll have to do that. And then the cobblestone generator is probably the hard part. What I would recommend is placing in lava on all of these cobblestone blocks here. We're gonna need lava in all of these areas here. So right click on the drills themselves. If you go one higher, the lava is gonna spill out this way, and we don't want that. So you should have lava in a 2-block tall little area here. If you don't have the cobblestone here, place in cobblestone manually, just for your well-being. You do need to make sure that these things aren't spinning before you place stuff in, because if they are and they break the cobblestone, the drill system here will not work as expected. So make sure you're starting this up as it is turned off. We're gonna waterlog all of the drills on this side here, and then we're gonna need to come underneath here and open up all of these trapdoors, and then get underneath here and start waterlogging all of these drills. There we go. Once that's done, we can flip back up all these trapdoors. You don't need to do this, but I think it looks a little bit better. And there we go. Cobblestone generator is set up. Over here on the iron farm generator area, we need to set up a lava in this cauldron here for the flint. There we go. That is throwing out flint. All of these should already be configured. Make sure you're not already using this redstone link setup here. That's just going to turn off the iron to cobble kind of requesting system. Then I think we can go to set up all of these things here. I'm going to need you to follow along with me. This is going to take a little bit of time, but it shouldn't be impossible. We're going to start over at the top left with cobblestone. Cobblestone by itself is not made by anything. We just have a farm for it. So this, we just have it set up like so. We don't need to really care about it. It's already set to the required 30 stacks. We're going to start with the first thing right above the cobble with Blackstone. It is already set to haunting, which is kind of the one that we want. So we're going to go over here, add a new connection, and then right click the cobblestone. You can see a blue line going from there. If you right click it again, all we need to do now is change this to 3 minutes, which is just an arbitrary number that I chose, and it seemed to work well. What we also want to do is shift and scroll all the way up to 64 and 64. This just says that 64 cobble will give us 64 Blackstone, and it just makes the haunting a little bit faster and clears up kind of the space on the chains that we need. So once that's ready, we can save and close. We're then going to go over to the stone, do the same thing, add a new one, cobble, max it all the way up. This is miscellaneous blast smelting. We're going to up this to 3 minutes, and then we're good. Smooth stone, it's just cooked stone. We're going to up this to 64 and continue 3 minutes, of course. Stone bricks, on the other hand, are stone. This is still 64 to 64, but we're going to want to set this to 4 minutes since compacting is a kind of 1-to-1. It's actually 4 to 4, but still basically a 1-to-1 system, and we want to increase the time there just for safety purposes. Stone slabs are crafting. We are going to add a new connection to stone. We're not going to up this though because we're using crafting. So we're just going to go over here, use mechanical crafting. It'll set up the crafting recipe for us. And then we're going to up this to 5 minutes because the crafting sometimes takes a while if we're running everything at the exact same time. Gravel, adding a new connection. This is 64 to 64. We're crushing it. And this is one thing at a time. So we're going to do 3 minutes here, like the blast smelting and so on. And then we're good to go. These 3 come from gravel. So we are going to add connections for all of them. Back up to gravel. Going into clay balls now, we're going to up this to 64 and clay balls to 3 just because that is the closest number we have. This is going to be 64 and 64. Set this to 3 minutes. And then Flint over here is going to be 64 to 6 and then set this to 3 minutes. You should see that clay is a stack, Flint is 0, and sand is 5 stacks. Moving on to these 3, all of these come from sand, so we are going to hook this all up. And then we're going to go back through and bump all these up to 64. 3 minutes for glass. We're washing sand this time, so we're going to bump this to 3 minutes, and this is a 25% chance. So we're going to bump this up to 60 and then set this to 12. The final one is soul sand. This is going to be 64 to 64, set to 3 minutes. For bricks, we're going to bring that from clay, and we're going to do it from both of them just for convenience purposes. Oh, I guess we can't do that. Anyway, we're going to do it from this one because this one has a higher yield, and we are going to do 1-to-1 for blast smelting for 3 minutes. Quartz and gold nuggets come from soul sand, so we're going to add both of those there, and then we need to set up the percentages here. So we're going to set this to a stack gives us 30. Set this to 3 minutes. And then over here, a stack gives us 1, setting it to 3 minutes as well. We're gonna go over to the gold and set up the 2 connections. So gold ingots comes from gold nuggets. This is compacting. We are going to get 63, gives us 7. Set this to 4 minutes. And then over here, we're going to do 1-to-1. And this is just because we're not gonna require a lot amount of gold sheets. And we're going to set this to 4 minutes as well. Diorite comes from quartz and cobblestone way up here. And we're going to set this to the crafting recipe, and we're going to set this to 5 minutes. That is everything on this little quadrant here. Moving on now to iron. We have an iron nugget and iron ingot farm, so neither of these need to be made from gravel. So because of this, we're just going to go straight to iron blocks. This one is compacting of iron ingots. And this is going to be 63, gives us 7 blocks of iron. We're going to set this to compacting at 4 minutes, and then we are kind of good on those 3. Moving on now to chains. Chains require iron nuggets, iron ingots, and then we're going to set this to the crafting recipe and 5 minutes. I bet you can see a pattern here. Andesite, we are making this already. We don't want to touch this. Moving on to andesite alloys, we need to add iron nuggets and andesite, and then we can up all of these to 64 since it's 1 iron, 1 andesite in a mixer gives us 1 andesite alloy, and we're going to set that to 4 minutes. Iron sheets just require iron ingots. We're going to set this to a stack and a stack, 4 minutes, and we are good there. Iron trapdoors just require iron ingots. We can set this to the crafting recipe and bump that up to 5 minutes. Train tracks require iron nuggets and stone slab, and we can set this to 2 iron nuggets plus 1 stone slab gives us 1 track. We're going to set this to 4 minutes because this is quite a complicated recipe. What we can do though is set this to 64 and then 32 and then 32. These 4 filtered saw things with the andesite alloy. So what we're going to do is add a new connection to all 4 of these and add them to the andesite alloy one. We're then going to go through and set up the filtered saw. So we need 32 of these for 64 of those, setting this to 4 minutes. The ladders, 4 minutes, same numbers, 32 and 64. The bars, however, are 16 and 64, setting this to 4 minutes. And then the scaffolding is 32 to 64, 4 minutes. For the normal shafts, we just need andesite, and that is 1 to 6. Let's do the math here, 1 to 6, which we can up to 10 and 60. We'll want to do this for 4 minutes as well. Let's kind of pivot here and go up to the wood and kelp because those are a little bit easier before we get everything else in. So logs we are making on their own. So we're going to move on to stripped logs. Stripped logs, just sawing normal logs. And we're going to do a stack for each. And we're setting this to 4 minutes. For the birch planks, we're going to set that to the spruce logs. And that is a 1 to 6. So we can do 10 to 60 sawing, 4 minutes. And then we're good there. Sticks come from planks. This unfortunately needs to be crafted, so we're just going to set up the mechanical crafting recipe, set this to 5 minutes, and then we are good. Once we have sticks in, let's go over to the charcoal and set this up. This is just smelting normal logs. We're going to set this to 3 minutes, and we're going to do a stack of each. Levers are pretty simple. They are sticks and cobblestone. We're going to set this to the crafting recipe, and there's not much we can do with that. 5 minutes, and we're good. These little levers are sticks and actually andesite casings, which we haven't even made yet, but we can set this up first, set it to crafting, set it to 5 minutes, and we're good in this little quadrant. Now onto kelp. We're generating normal kelp. So for the smelted kelp, we're just going to be smoking that. We're going to do stack and a stack, 3 minutes. We're good there. The belts are just smelted kelp. We're going to use the mechanical crafting and set this to 5 minutes. The 2 linear and radial chassis are going to be logs for both of them, and then andesite alloy for both of them as well. We're using the crafting recipe for both of those, setting them to 5 minutes, and we are good with those. Andesite tunnels are dried kelp, andesite alloy, set it to crafting, and 5 minutes. Funnels are the exact same thing, dried kelp, andesite alloy, set it to crafting, 5 minutes. Slabs are sawing of normal wood bits, and we are going to do, it is technically 3 to 1. So we're going to do 63 over here and 21 over here, setting this to 4 minutes, and we should be good. Barrels are the crafting recipe of slabs and normal blocks, and we are going to set that to crafting, set it to 5 minutes, and we're good. Item volts are pressed iron, barrel, crafting, 5 minutes. These chutes are pressed iron ingots, crafting, 5 minutes. Item hatches are iron trapdoors, andesite alloy, set to crafting, 5 minutes. Portable storage interfaces are chutes, andesite casings, crafting, 5 minutes. Andesite casings are andesite alloy, stripped logs, and we're going to set this to 4 minutes. We're also going to up the birch logs to 64, the nuggets with alloys to 64, and the casings to 64. The final 2 in this like top kind of 3/4 area are the first metal brackets and then the metal girders. Starting with the metal girders, these things are using pressed iron and andesite alloy, set to crafting, and 5 minutes. The metal brackets are iron ingots, iron nuggets, andesite alloy, and set to crafting. Make sure to set this to 5 minutes as well. That is now the top kind of half. We're going to go over to the water wheels now. These things are normal wood shafts, set to crafting, 5 minutes. The large water wheels are normal water wheels with more wood. Set it to crafting, set it to 5 minutes. These chain conveyors are andesite casings, a large cogwheel, set to crafting over 5 minutes. Gearboxes are small cogwheels and an andesite casing and a crafting terminal for 5 minutes. The small cogs are filtered mixers. We're going to set this to shafts and normal wood, and we can do a stack at a time of all 3. We're going to set this to 4 minutes. The large cogwheels are basically the same recipe, except we're going to set the birch planks to 64 and then everything else to 32. We're going to set this down to 4 minutes. Closing in on the final stretch here. These mechanical piston arms are normal logs, or planks, andesite alloy, crafting, 5 minutes. Basins are just andesite alloys, set to crafting in 5 minutes. The mechanical plows are pressed iron, andesite alloy, and an andesite casing, set its crafting over 5 minutes. The harvesters are literally the exact same. It is just a different crafting recipe. So you're doing andesite casing, andesite alloy, and pressed iron. Setting this to just the crafting recipe over 5 minutes and we're good. A depot is just an andesite alloy and an andesite casing. We got to set this to crafting over 5 minutes, of course. And then the weighted ejector is a gold sheet depot and a small cogwheel there set to crafting over 5 minutes. The whisk and fan are both the same. They are iron and iron sheets. I meant to say andesite alloy, apologies. Andesite alloy and iron sheets, both of them set its crafting over 5 minutes. Now we're starting with the windmill bearing. This one is a slab, a piece of stone, which is way over here, and a shaft. A mechanical bearing is the exact same, except instead we're using an andesite casing instead of stone. So we're going to do a slab, andesite casing, and a shaft. Set this to crafting over 5 minutes. Make sure you set the windmill bearing to crafting over 5 minutes as well. The millstone is going to be stone, cogwheel, and an andesite casing. Make sure you set this to crafting over 5 minutes. Now we're on to the final stretch here. We have drills, which is andesite alloy, normal iron ingots, and an andesite casing. Saws, which are normal iron ingots, iron sheets, and andesite casing. We're going to set both of these to crafting over 5 minutes. The mechanical piston is going to use its extender arm, an andesite casing, and a wooden slab. That should be set to crafting over 5 minutes. Mechanical press is going to use an iron ingot, an andesite casing, and a shaft set to crafting 5 minutes. An encased fan is going to use, believe it or not, its fan and casing thing, an andesite casing, and a shaft. Make sure to set this to crafting over 5 minutes. For the wooden brackets, we're going to add sticks, log, and andesite nuggets. Set it to crafting over 5 minutes. For the desk belt, we're going to do gold sheet, andesite casing, set it to crafting over 5 minutes. Now the last thing we need to configure is the mechanical mixer. This is going to use, of course, the mixing thing, a cogwheel, and an andesite casing. We're going to set this to crafting over 5 minutes. And now we should see that everything is now configured and we can get power to this thing somehow. And I honestly don't know how. So as you can see, this thing is just needing water, and that is because I was silly and forgot water sources that we need in here. So we need to grab 2 water buckets and place them into this stair here, and this one as well, and that'll start giving water to our steam engine. That will start to power all of the chain drives here, including our cobblestone generator that you should see going into being crafted into an iron farm. And we should get our first bits of iron in a second. I lied. Again, this is why we test stuff. We need a water source here. This is directly in front of the fan here, in the way of this trapdoor. Once we have that, that should start getting blown over, smelted up, and we should see items in this item vault in a second. What we're actually probably going to see first is iron ingots or nuggets dropping out of here to be smelted into iron ingots. There we go, our first set of iron nuggets and our very first iron ingot. This will not drop out into the smart chute until we get a full stack, so don't worry about there still being iron ingots in there. What I want to test really briefly now is if all of these frog things will auto connect up to these chains or if we need to replace all of them. Because in my testing, we needed to replace them, but there's always a chance that they've updated the game since I've tested it. And you should do this as well. We are going to grab just a, let's say, birch plank. You can literally grab anything on this list. So you could grab cobblestone, gravel, whatever, as long as it's on the list, it's smart. Otherwise, you'll need to go and like take it out or something. But what we're going to do is put it into anything labeled storage here. If we do this, we're going to throw it in there and we should see, oh, maybe we need to power and repower that. Yep, that's not going to work. Okay, so that means that we need to replace, and I think this, unfortunately, this lever means we need to power and depower every single one of these packagers. But more importantly, we need to break and replace every single one of these package frog ports that are set, because they don't have a name even. And I know that we just went through probably the most annoying part of this thing, but I think we have an annoying stage too. So let's quickly get to replacing all of these frog ports. We are going to start with the ones for storage. Some of these are the sender ones. The ones with the stock link in front of it are sending, and the other ones are receiving. So we're going to break all of the receiving ones for now, and we are going to replace them here. We need to connect it up first to the chain, and then we're going to label them storage with a lowercase s. I would recommend Control A, Control C to copy that. We're then going to do that for all of the other ones, and then you can just paste it in with Control V. So just connect it up to the chain thing, set it to storage, paste it in. Then we're going to do all the ones with the stock link in front of it. So break all 4 of those, and we are going to just connect this up and place it in, and set this to only send packages. We don't need to change the name for these. Once we have the storage all done, we are just going to go around and make sure that we get every single one of these set up, and I will of course walk you through it because some of them need specific names. So for the tree farm, we don't care about the name. This one is just set to send only with the default name. Same with over here, we're going to remove that, set it to the default, only send, and we are good to go there. Underneath the cobblestone generator, we're going to do the same thing. So break that, replace it quickly because water does flow out. It shouldn't break any of the redstone or anything. Make sure it's sent to send, and we are good there. Ooh, some of the redstone that might break are levers. So if that does happen, make sure you place that back. We're going to switch this one up with sending it to storage, and then we're going to stop right here and go through all of these package Frogports to rename them to the correct thing. I really hope they fix this in an upcoming patch so that these things work with schematics, because what do you mean? This is a literal create mod object, but what we're going to do is break all of these, and we need to make sure that we connect it up to the main line here and not this auxiliary one. This one is just for powering some of the systems. So we're going to set this to one of the chains and place it on top of the packager. We are going to rename this thing Filtered Mixer 1. Make sure the capitals are the same. So capital F, capital M. You're going to want to copy that. We're then going to do the same thing for the other two. So place them in, rename them Filtered Mixer, and then change the number to 2 for the middle one and 3 for the final one. My fear is that some of these packages are going to already get in. So what we might want to do is just for now disable this gearbox by breaking it so that this thing stops getting powered, so that we can settle these up. So far though, we have done the tree farm, the andesite farm, the cobble farm, and the 3 filtered mixers, including this storage thing. We're then going to go over to the iron that's right here. We're going to break and replace this one, set it to send mode, and we are good there. Same with the one under the storage here. Break and replace, set to send, we are good. This one up top though, we are going to break and replace, but we're going to have to name this one to Casing Crafting, both with capital C. Continuing around, we are going to need to break it and replace all of these. All the ones with storage on them do not need a name, they just need to be set to send mode. So make sure you do that for all 5 of them here. And then all the ones in the back here need to be named something. So we're gonna break all of those. This first one is going to be placed in here and called Filtered Saw 0. Make sure you have a capital F and a capital S. Make sure you copy and paste that because we're gonna need to do that 5 times. 0 up until 4. The reason I did 0 was because I forgot. This one should be Filtered Saw 2, apologies. And Filtered Saw 4. Moving on now to crafting. This first one here on the storage packager is just going to be set to send only, and then we're going to break these 2 and set them both to crafting. Make sure you set this to a capital C, of course. And then we're going to copy this over to the second one that is going to be right next to it. I've seen very often that we do need 2 of these because one just can't keep up. We're then going to go over to the smelting and break all of these, set all of them to send mode, at least the ones down here. And then for the ones up top, these are going to be named what they actually do. So in the back here, we can see this one's going to be Haunting. So we're going to set this up, connect it up, and then rename it Haunting with a capital H. This next one is going to be Water. We're going to need to grab our water bucket, place that in here, not on that block. Oh no. Place it in front of the fan like so. And then we're going to need to place our Frogport in, rename it to Washing, and we should be good there. The next one is Smoking. And then the next 2 are Blast Smelting and Miscellaneous Blast Smelting. So we're going to place it in a lava bucket there. It's going to flow over to the other one. And then we're going to name the first one Blast Smelting. This one, again, apologies, is a capital B, a lowercase s. And then the next one after that is Miscellaneous Blast Smelting, or MISC. And then Blast Smelting with a capital S this time. And make sure you have it pasted in just like so. If you have any confusion about the names, they are all on these clipboards here. So you can run over here and copy and paste any that you wish. That are all of the Frogports on this side. We now need to come over here and get these in. So this one is going to be for the track crafting. This one is just a sending one, so we can only set this to sending, and that's fine. But the one up here is going to be broken and replaced, and we're going to name this track crafting. Moving on now to the crushing wheels. The sending one is just going to be sending, and then the one up top here is going to be renamed crushing with a lowercase c. Moving on now to the final one, I think, of the whole session. These are 3 different ones for pressing, compacting, and sawing. They are all going to be named as such. As the first one, pressing with a capital P, compacting with a capital C, and then sawing with a capital S. We're going to need to break and replace all 3 of these so that they are properly connected up. Now we should see, if you already have a package on one of the chains, that if we connect this thing up to power, that package should now go to where we want it to go, and it does. Things are already happening. If they aren't for you, or if things are just like spinning around on one of the edges, you can just pick up one of the packages and see where it is heading. If it's heading, let's say, to crushing, you know that you have misspelled this one, or you just haven't replaced it. It's also important to know and to run around to see what things aren't sending stuff out. It appears that crushing is, but my guess is that a lot of the other stuff is not. Ooh, it is helpful to know. So this is definitely reciprocated. We need to flick on and off every single one of the levers here. So we're going to go through all of the pressing, compacting, sawing ones, and then all the ones under here as well. And you should see that these start working. Make sure you do crushing, the crafting, all of the filtered saws. This one under here is good because it has a stock link connected to it, so it's not constantly powered. This one we need to double press. This one, let's double press. This obviously means something is going wrong. These things contain packages. This is because we didn't turn on and off this repackager. Make sure you do that. That is an important part of the puzzle, because otherwise this will start stacking up like crazy. Good thing I caught that. Oh, another thing to power on and off is this repackager that I forgot we had for the track crafting. This is a very important one, so please do it. Please remember to, otherwise it'll back up your thing, just like we saw before. You will need to, in your world, likely place in saplings in all of these places, and then turn the wood farm on. The on switch, if we start digging through, is this windmill bearing in the center of the farm that we just need to right click. Make sure though that you place in water all the way along so that this thing fills up to the brim with water sources, but I mean that's probably the easy part of this. Make sure that you also place in all the kelp that is around here, just because there might be some spots missing. Alright, kelp is set up. I'm just going to fill in all these water sources, and once we have that, we should be getting more items than previously, which will be amazing. We can also take another look at the kind of system here. We do notice that we are getting everything, it looks like, that we care about. We can also check over here that this Blaze Burner Stockkeeper is getting a few more items. We can see that we have gold nuggets, even though we are requesting a stack total. It doesn't say anything over here, so we can verify that we are getting at least some. We can also run around and check these barrels to make sure nothing is in them. If there is something in them, just flick on and off that lever, because honestly that is probably the issue. I would actually be hoping for more iron. It looks like this isn't as fast as I would have hoped, but that's okay. I mean, it definitely takes a lot of time to get every single item in the game, especially multiple stacks of it. So what I'm gonna do now is AFK, and by AFK I mean tick warp, because I have this fun little thing and I'm so excited about it. But if we tick warp for 5 Minecraft age, which is 20 minutes per day, we should see that that is an hour of AFK, and if there is any issues, I will stop it and kind of bring it up. So while we're doing this, you should be able to see that everything is working still. The only real issue is if things start backing up, or we start getting a lot of things stuck either in item vaults, barrels, or like mid crafting. All of those things would be bad. Also, make sure that this crafting kind of thing is set up to a full 3x3. If it's not, you'll have to right click on the backhand side with a wrench these little areas to connect up each section. Okay, this is what I was kind of talking about. This obviously means something is going wrong. These things contain packages. This is because we didn't turn on and off this repackager. Make sure you do that. That is an important part of the puzzle, because otherwise this will start stacking up like crazy. Good thing I caught that. After an hour of AFK, we have quite a bit of everything except for iron nuggets, which is kind of where we're stuck at. If you're at this point and want to kind of change anything, you can obviously reduce the threshold switch here, where we have, if we switch it to stacks, we are waiting for 100 stacks of iron nuggets before we continue. You can reduce this if you want, or you could just wait a little bit longer, and that's what I'm gonna do. Oh, another thing to power on and off is this repackager that I forgot we had for the track crafting. This is a very important one, so please do it. Please remember to, otherwise it'll back up your thing, just like we saw before. But actually, the sprint is done again, and even though we have about 1 billion stacks of tracks now, that's kind of fine. We do need a tick warp once more. We're not getting enough wood from the looks of it, which is potentially worrisome. I'm not sure where it's going. What could be happening is this item vault just isn't properly set up. So I'm just gonna break and replace that, but we should see that this connects, and items go in here, it's because these aren't configured properly. Okay, make sure you flip this around so that the top one is... No, okay, this should be working as expected. We just need to double right click it so it actually thresholds, which is a weird bug that used to not happen, which is really interesting. Anyway, we will now not have this problem. And after just over 2.5 hours of AFKing, this whole thing is now completed. And oh my goodness, is that quite a bit of time. But let's say we wanted to take out a stack of item vaults, and let's just send this to, I don't have actually a place for this. Let's do output storage. Let's make a chest, a frogport, and we'll just do something super, super basic right here. It's too far away. Okay, how about right here? There we go. If we send this to output storage, we get a stack of item vaults being sent over. This will give us plenty of item vaults for our needs. 11, 24, 29, and then it will go and make more while we use whatever we need the item vaults for. And you can increase the quantity of everything that we gather really easily just by holding right click and sliding this up and down. So if you always need way more item vaults than what I've provisioned, you can just give yourself more. It's really that simple. And now we have all the item vaults that we care about. Obviously you would want to depackage these, but that was just a test. So that is the farm. As I mentioned, everything will be in the description. If you found this useful and you like the video and you appreciate my content, definitely subscribe. It means a lot. And also check out some of my other videos. I have a bunch of series and other tutorials that are, I think, in my opinion, entertaining. So definitely check those out. But thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you're new. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.